Pollock has the premier high school audience to see this movie. So now's your opportunity in terms of following up with questions about what happened to these four guys, or what this film means, or any other questions you have to direct at Jason right now. So,
okay. Any questions from the audience here? Okay, yeah, go right ahead. I mean, they lost. I think they lost for a lot of different reasons. I think that money had a lot to do with it. But when you're a teenager and you're running for office, you're up against a lot. And so, the message in this film is that it doesn't really matter if you win or you lose. If you run for office, you're going to make a huge impact in your community. Everybody's going to hear about you, and you have the opportunity to just say whatever you want. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, money is a huge part of a campaign. We see it at the presidential level right now. Both the presidential candidates, they're trying as much as possible to raise as much money as possible to get ads out there, to print signs and yard signs and all these things. And all these kids barely had any money at all. So, they were running, shoestring campaigns in many ways, but they were running. And that's the point, is that what they did is really cool, and you guys can do it too. Any other questions?
Over here?
Yeah, right here.
Do you think higher education is necessary?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, this young man wanted to know if I think that higher education is necessary to run for public office. Raul has not been to college yet, and that's talked about in the film. I think that it definitely probably hurt him a little bit that he didn't go to college, and he knows it. Like, we've talked about it, and he's probably gonna go to a community college and get a real education. However, having said that, everybody has their own road and their own path in life. And, I dropped out of college. I didn't go to college, and I was able to do this. I worked for Michael Moore and made Fahrenheit 9/11 with him, and he dropped out of college too. So I'm not saying drop out of college, but I am saying if you want to run when you're 18, and maybe you don't have enough money for college, you should still run when you're 18, because it's gonna be a huge education process for you. What you learn by running for office, they cannot teach you that in a college class. There's nothing in college they can teach you that will actually teach you the same things by getting out there and running for office. So yeah, I think it's a very smart idea to go, especially if you're thinking about running for a big position. People are going to take you more seriously if you have that college degree. Yeah, in the red vest.
You ever want to run for office?
What's that?
You ever thought about running for office?
Have I ever thought about running for office? I was really inspired by all these kids, and I live in a place called Williams in Brooklyn, and there are a lot of like home of Jay-Z, and there are a lot of issues in my community that I want to try to change. I don't know if I would run for office, but I was definitely very inspired by following these kids, and it made me think twice about it. And one thing I hope that this film does is not only educate and get kids excited to run for office, but there are probably a lot of adults, maybe some of your parents in the community, who have been thinking about running and haven't decided to throw their name into the race. But maybe once they see teenagers running for office, then they'll decide, okay, as an adult, it's finally time for me to do it. If kids are running, maybe I should run too. So I think the film may not only excite kids to run for office, but also maybe some adults to run for office too. And that's why I showed 18-year-olds doing it, which is the most extreme version of people running for office. It's the absolute youngest age you can do it at. Anybody else? Yeah, please.
How did you decide to feature these four people?
I interviewed kids for 2 years to pick the right candidates. And I really wanted to find kids that could be the face of a new youth movement in America. And I was very deliberate in not having a white dude run for office in my movie. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's no white guy running for office in the movie. And I did that on purpose. I am tired of watching white guys run for office. I'm sure lots of them will run for office again, and that's a good thing. They should do it. But through our entire country's history, all we've seen is white guys in office. So I wanted to try to find faces that were not white, and that's why, I found Raul, who's a Latino, George, the African American, Yati is an Indian American. These are huge populations in our culture that are really underrepresented in the political system. So I wanted to make a film that represents all cultures, and that was a big part of it. Tiffany was actually one of the only women at 18 years old running in America. There really aren't that many women doing it at this age group. So if you're a woman, you should really think about doing it, because there aren't that many women doing it. And she was one of the only people that I could find doing it. So that's how I picked her, basically.
Thank you.
Yeah. Has there ever been an 18-year-old that ran and won? Yes. In the credits of my film, which we didn't get to watch because of time, I show about 12 different 18-year-olds who are currently in office in America. There are probably about 50 kids that are 18 or 19 years old who are sitting in office in America, city council, mayor, and I've talked to all of them, and they're doing good jobs, and they were voted in by their community. I followed kids that ran in November of 2007, 1 year ago, and I really wanted to make the film about the election process. So instead of following kids that had already won, I wanted to follow kids that were running. And unfortunately, none of my kids won, but there are many kids in America that are sitting in office, that are elected, and they're kicking butt. Here we go.
Do you think because of what they were, the community didn't want to change, and if they ran again, they might have a bigger chance of winning?
Yeah, this young man asked if they have a better chance of winning if they run again. Absolutely. These kids have so much power in their communities now. They're little celebrities in their communities. And that's what you can become if you run for office. You become a very public figure. And it's much easier for them to raise money. There are a lot more people that want to donate to their campaigns. And they're all going to run again, probably. And I definitely think people like Raul and George will definitely be elected officials in their communities, in the next 5 or 10 years, basically. So they're definitely going to run again. And running for the first time and getting your name out there is really the only way to win. A lot of people that run for office the first time they lose. And you see that in the film, but that's okay. Because, you can run every 2 or 4 years. And if you run once, then your community gets to know you. You get a base of support so that when you run again, you can win. Yeah.
You think you could convince them to come to Rochester?
Can I convince them to come to Rochester? Trust me, I would not have to convince them to come to Rochester. They don't have much money, but if we're able to raise the money to get them to come, I will definitely bring them here. They all want to come. They all want to come.